say live sometimes. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Like what you were just saying. Yeah, we couldn't do live because of Jimbo, but he's going to tone it down just a little bit because I can't
Always.
clip out all the bad things.
True.
And then when you get me to say something that I'm under NDA for, I won't be able to clip that out either.
We'll be all right.
We'll be okay.
Maybe.
All right, cool.
Oh my
So
God.
we are live. We got some people in here already. Nice. So before we even get started, I wanted to show. I didn't even show you guys yet some of these cool things that I found that I'm going to try here. Oh wait. Oh no. I might have only set that up for 2 people. Shit. Like, look at. I'm gonna have to move this over. So we got a poll to run. We got. I don't know. If you type win, I think maybe I could try to give away some prizes or something. Then I can bring up the ILV chart. All right, maybe I didn't set it up too great this time because we have 3 people. Oops. Yeah. Where? Now I'm all lost on my. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So, anyways, doing it live, can already see it doesn't go that smoothly. So actually, Scoriox, I might as well just say welcome. Welcome. Thank you for coming on. I know this was it was last minute yesterday, and then we had to bump it to today, but thanks for joining. I know you just had your podcast just less than 24 hours ago, right?
Yeah, it's about just over 12 hours ago now, yeah.
Awesome. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but hopefully we're not doubling down on a lot of the same topics. You know, give the audience who already watched you a little something different to hear.
No, we did a lot of these topics last week, so we didn't cover them off too much this week. So, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Jimbo, thanks for coming.
Woo!
All right. So let's just get right into the first topic here. Now that we're doing this on a Thursday, we're exactly 2 weeks from open beta. It honestly feels like it's been 2 months. I don't know about you guys. I can't believe it's only been two weeks at this point. But what are your first impressions so far? How are you handling these first 2 weeks? Just what are you thinking? Like, is this what you expected or a little different? Scoriox, why don't we start with you?
Look, I've been really, really enjoying it. I think I've been buying way more off the Illuvidex than I thought I would. Because grinding for some of this stuff is quite difficult, time-consuming, and for some reason it's also quite a bit cheaper on the Illuvidex for a lot of this stuff as well, especially things like the ingots and things like that. Like you can do like 3 runs, or you can buy all the ingots yourself for a similar price. So there's a lot of those elements that I really didn't expect. The only other thing is I've been trying to build my Ascendant team. So I bought most of the Illuvials off the Illuvidex because you can like grind for a Monarch or buy it for like $20 probably. I don't know. Monarch I haven't bought yet, but I bought like a Jotun and things like that. So you can buy a lot of the stuff off the Illuvidex, but what's been fascinating is the other day they changed a bunch of the rarities, and so the floor price shot up for tier 4s and tier 5s. And so it's going to be really hard for me to get my Phosphorus now. Thankfully, I've already been catching a lot of flares to get my Seer, but Phosphorus is the last thing I'm trying to get for Ascendant. But that is my biggest disappointment in the first 2 weeks is we don't really have any hype around Ascendant leaderboards, any of that sort of stuff, which is really sad to me because I've been getting really into Ascendant lately, and it's hard to find a match against someone that's of a similar skill level because there's just no one in there yet. And there's probably an element of people not having the Alluvials yet, but I think it's more of an element of there's no reason for people to want to play it, and that's been a little bit sad for me.
Yeah, I've been noticing that too. Like, and I can tell with myself, I just don't have the team like ready to go for Ascendant right now. But one of the things that I've been doing off the Illuvidex is I've actually been like just browsing around, not even for the hollows, just for the ones with really good stats. Like the other day, I was live and I was working the Illuvidex a little bit, and I found an Axodon that had like maxed out stats for what was it? Resistance, health, and Omega or something like that. And I was just like, that's the perfect stat for Axodon. So I picked it up for like $10. And when Ascendant gets into full gear and people are really looking for those, like I'm gonna be glad I picked that up then because those might be the things that are exploding on the market there. But Jimbo, how have you been playing it so far?
So, like, first thoughts, I don't really have any. It's the exact same game that I've been playing. So, yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying myself. It's a great time. Like Skoriak said though, I am surprised at how much I've been buying stuff off the market, because like some of these more grindier things that you have to do, they're just like kind of boring, like getting your jetpack and mag boost. Dude, they're like $2. You know what I mean? So I might as well
Less
just
than
buy
that
it off
now.
the
Less
market.
than that.
There's not even a point in me like going into tier 0 to do that.
Yep.
So I mean, low key, I don't know if that's good for the game, but I like it. I think one of the main issues I have, and we'll get into this later, is overworld costs. But that's not really an issue. It's more an issue with how people view the game and how it's supposed to be played. And again, we'll get into that a little bit later. But other than that, really enjoying Gauntlet. I'm sucks to see how few people are playing it, because I actually think I mean, it's not a good game, but it's got the potential to be a great game. I guess it is a good game, actually. I'll give it to him. It's a fun game. I really enjoy playing it, but there's like no one playing. Like, it
Well,
sucks.
I think
Like, I have to get
everyone's
into the
still in the
Discord to
overworld.
play.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the overworld hype is still here. It's been only 2 weeks. Let's wait a little bit for people to build up the teams, get what they want, and then maybe they're going to be hopping into Gauntlet
Well,
and Ascended more.
Yeah, that's fair.
Gauntlet's prowess was being in less, it having better replayability than things like a 1v1, like Ascendant and things like that. However, the issue with Gauntlet right now is the balancing is really whack because of the way it's structured and things like that. Everyone wants a Gorilla, everyone wants a Broda, everyone wants a Chuko and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So like the top 4 participants in every single Gauntlet game have the exact same team. But that's less of a balancing issue and more of a fundamental way the game is set up. For example, it's really hard to get stage 3 alluvials for tier 1. So it's that sort of thing that just means that the game is played the same every single time. And that's why it gets old really fast. And it's kind of hard to want to play
I actually disagree.
over and over. And there's no rank ladder too, which just defeats the purpose of the entire game. So, yeah.
I actually disagree. I think, yes, you're going for the same thing every single time. It's the same team comp, but the way that you play out the game is different every time. Like, you don't play the game the same way every single time, or you shouldn't. At least you should be adapting to, like, oh, I can't get a stage 3 of this certain alluvial, so I'm gonna have to pivot into this until I can get to my late game team. So I think I personally still enjoy Gauntlet more, but I see where you're coming from. Once all of those issues get ironed out, though, I think this game's going to be
well.
Don't quote me, but I like its odds.
There's no stakes in the game. Like, would you, if League of Legends didn't have a rank ladder, would you play it ever?
Exactly. No,
you would never play it. So that's pretty much the main issue. I'm still very surprised they released it without a ranked ladder. I don't care how buggy it is. Just reset the ladder at some point. But
yep,
it is what it is.
Yeah, and I'd expect that to come pretty soon. I don't think they're going to wait too much on that. But before we move on to this next topic, I just want to answer one quick question here. Just about fusing hollows. So I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. It's just a third. You get that 33% chance for every hollow you have. So if you have 3 hollows, you're always going to fuse into another hollow. If you have 1 hollow and 2 non-hollows, you have a 33% chance of getting the hollow. And then say you did a dark hollow, a hollow, and a non-hollow, you have a 33% chance of getting any one of those. Right? Is that right, Skoriax?
That's my understanding. I don't know the interaction between hollow and dark hollow. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, but I heard of some weird bugs very early on, but I think that's been fixed, and this is how it works.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to this next topic here. So we kind of talked about how we feel, especially Skoriax and myself. We're both on the community council right now. What is the sentiment from, like, everybody, whether you're on Twitter, Discord, what are you seeing? Are people liking it? I mean, I'm sure it's mixed all around, but are you seeing people leaning towards one way or another? Are they disappointed? Are they happy?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are mostly happy with the game. There's a lot of people from the outside of the community that are a bit upset that you have to pay so often. I don't even think paying for travel is their issue, and maybe the pricing's a little bit of an issue. Stage 3 runs were pretty expensive, but it was more so they have to pay for travel, and then they have to pay to cure shards, and then they have to pay to evolve alluvials. I think it's all of the consequent stuff where they just want to pay once, or pay once every week, or pay once a month, or just they don't want to like deal with that side of the game as often as you currently have to. That's from the outside communities and things like that. From the inside, I think it's mostly happy. And yeah, people are pretty chill. They're enjoying the game. I think there's a little bit of worried sentiment. People are like, we want more players to join the game and things like that. People are a little bit concerned about that side of things. But yeah.
Yeah, I think slow and steady is not a bad approach, especially in the market we're in right now. Like, we have to be real. Like, we're still a crypto game. We're still a Web3 game. Even though we want to think it's just a normal AAA game, which I think it'll be looked at that way. Right now, we're still looked at that crypto game. And when the market pumps and ILV, the coin pumps, we're going to get more eyes on this game. People are going to come in. They're going to see how good of a game it is. And then I think it'll end up being, stickier at that point. But one thing with the sentiment that I've seen, I've been actually more focused on Illuvium Zero. It's so much easier for me to play on my iPad, on my phone, while I'm working, while I'm out. But there's been a couple issues there with, like, people trying to sell fuel. You need to sell it well under the top rail. And then there's been some issues with bugs like people's land not playing. But I'm actually enjoying that game a lot. I sold some of my first fuel today. It was a good feeling to just put it on the market. And I think I sold, 300 Hyperion for like $1.50. And I was just like, all right, well, that's my first earning in Illuvium. Like, that got me excited. Like, maybe I could do that every day. $3, $4 every day.
Mm-hmm.
But Jimbo, how are you seeing the community react to everything?
Yeah, so pretty much what you and Skoryak said. I think a lot of the issues with getting normies into the game right now specifically is right, IMX Passport is nice and everything, but without MoonPay, without like that easy on ramp, it's really, really, really annoying for some of these new people, especially those that don't know anything about crypto. Like, I think that's specifically a non-crypto bro issue. We also have people complaining about overworld costs. I don't think that's an issue with the game. I think that's an issue with how people thought the game was supposed to be. Overworld is nothing more than Safari Zone and Pokemon. All of the other content are the other games. Like, why are you guys playing Overworld as if it's the main game? It's literally Safari Zone. Do you just go into the Safari Zone over and over and over? Like, sure, it's fun to like go and catch Kangaskhan, but I want to be able to use him in a battle. That's why Arena we need more games like Arena that feeds Alluvials into it. That's the issue with Overworld, not the fact that you have to pay in to go every time. Yeah. I mean, all these games are interconnected.
Yeah, and right now I get exactly what you're saying. Like, I've gone out and unless it's an Alluvial that I'm specifically looking for my team, like I want a gyro, so I've been looking for those to fuse them up. But if it's something that I've seen multiple times and I've already caught one of them, I'm like, I don't really have a purpose to catch that. And maybe if there was more of a demand on the market, I might see another ebb. And I usually don't go for I already caught one ebb. I don't need another ebb. I don't want it on my team. But maybe it's in the meta of Ascendant, and then I'm like, oh well, maybe if I catch it, I can turn around and put it on the market. So when we get more use outside of the overworld, I think it will, it'll pick things up all around.
I think we need more burning mechanisms as well, like maybe to burn this many alluvials to get this skin, or like a group burn. You know how like we unlocked the regions? Maybe people have an option to burn everything that they just got to add to a pool, something like that. I think a lot of burning mechanisms we should be thinking about that now instead of later. But I mean, that's just a little quirky idea I came up with.
I think even like burning alluvials for fuel could be really, really cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you'd have to do it like really carefully, obviously, but like if 10 atlases have got you enough for like a stage 1 run, because it's practically impossible to capture 10 atlases inside of a stage 1 run, you know what I mean? And that would be quite interesting. It would give people a reason to buy things off the market, but it would also give you a reason to capture some other things. But what I've been having a lot of fun with Overworld actually is you can check for their stats when you enter an encounter before you actually battle the encounter and things like that. And so you can just jump into a bunch of different encounters and try and find like a perfect stat alluvial and then just try and catch that, or try and find something really high stats. And they're really cool, and you'll be surprised. You kind of have to market them yourself a little bit because the Illuvidex doesn't really have the filters for it. But you'd be surprised how many people are after that sort of thing. And you can like share that online and be like, look, this thing has almost perfect stats. It's up there for $5. You can see it here. Go buy it. And that sort of stuff's really cool as well. So there's some really interesting mechanics in the Illuvium overworld that people aren't exploring that much. But I'm excited for multiplayer, but more like a PvP multiplayer. I want to send out my Scoriox and I want it to shoot at Jimbo in the overworld. You know, like, is that too much to ask?
No, that's definitely a future update, right? It's got to be. I mean, I think Overworld should eventually evolve into a game that could be played on its own. Like you're saying, Skoryak shooting at me, maybe going into a raid with your friends. I mean, there's a lot of things that Overworld is going to turn into, but that's going to take so much time, and we need a sink for alluvials and a reason to give them value. That's the main issue with the sentiment that I've been seeing.
But I mean, how sick would that be if me and Skoriox came up against each other, like in the Abyssal Basin? I have my Umbre behind me. He's got his Skoriox. And then we just come right at each other. Maybe there's an alluvial we both want to catch, so we go at each other first. I don't know. It seems pretty cool.
So cool.
Yeah, like I want to get involved with other people. Like there is the aspect of that because we're in Web3 and you can list it on the Illuvidex. You know, we got Twitter and Discord and all that. But I want to interact more with people like within the game.
But I think that's really fascinating, actually, because what Jimbo said before about the whole Safari Zone thing really resonated with me. And so I don't think you can join the two together. Like, you leave the overworld as just the Safari Zone. You just pay if you want to add to your collection or whatever. But you have to separate that from all the other stuff. And so with your multiplayer battling and things, where I'm battling you in the overworld, Najave, then that has to be a whole separate game. And the outcome can't really be acquiring alluvials because that's reserved for the Safari Zone. Maybe there's different items you can acquire or trophies, or there's a ranked ladder and it's just like a battle royale type thing. There's something great there and you make it as accessible as you can for free to play as well. So people can go in with like a pre-built team, kind of like an Ascendant, but it has to be separate. And then that's how you deal with the whole, it's hard for people to play the free-to-play overworld. Well, it's not designed for that. And maybe you just leave that out of there and you make sure you get a second game in where anyone can play.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to move on to the next topic here. So I'm going to, put you guys right here on the spot. If you were the CEO, if you were Kieran Warwick, if Kieran Warwick left and you took over the CEO spot, what would be like the one or two top priorities you would have right now for improving Illuvium? Jimbo, why don't you start on this one?
So first off, and the obvious answer that everybody should agree with is Gauntlet should be the top priority above literally everything else. Those who disagree are the same ones complaining about Overworld and thought it was going to be a different game than it was. Sorry, I told you so. I'm only slightly kidding. But other than like just, grinding down and making sure Gauntlet is as good and perfect as it possibly can be, I think something that is super important, I said it in the previous segment, we need some NFT burning mechanisms, something that gets people excited to burn these NFTs so that so that it just gives more value. And we can do really cool things with that. Like we could do events, raids. There's so many different possibilities. It's pretty much endless, the possibilities we could do. Charities. There's so many things we could do to get certain burning mechanisms. Hit me up. I have a million ideas. So, but yeah.
I told you came up with this idea before. I said, write up an IIP. Let's get it going.
I probably will.
In the Discord.
I'll do that. But basically, first, most importantly, Gauntlet and Ascendant need to be worked on. And then NFT burning mechanisms. Those are the two biggest things I see as issues.
All right, Skoriox, what do you think?
Okay, so like I said in my IMC Council nomination, user acquisition, just increasing the player base is my number one priority. I agree, Gauntlet is a big part of that. Make sure it's easy to get into. Make sure it's accessible. Make sure it's good. Like, it's great now, but it has a lot of work to do for sure. But the next thing is people want to explore the overworld, the IP, the alluvials, them walking around and things are some of the best parts of Illuvium, and we need to double down on that. And again, I resonated really well with Jimbo's Safari Zone thing. So you don't make the overworld free to play, but you use the skeleton of the overworld to build some sort of experience that is free to play, is completely accessible. It makes sense. It has some sort of RPG or quest line element or something for people to do. You build something using that to encourage people to join the ecosystem, to play this free game that they get involved in. And then if they want to get involved in things like Gauntlet and all that other stuff, then they can go into the overworld and capture Illuvials. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I'm going to give it after. I don't know why that resonated so well with me, Jimbo, but now I'm giving this a lot more thought. But yeah, soon I'm going to start thinking about ways or an easy game we can build. But that's the problem, is we don't have a whole lot of time to do that. And so it's really, really hard to kind of go down that rabbit hole. But that would be where I'm focused. Use what we already have to build some sort of free-to-play thing, as well as doubling down on Gauntlet.
Yeah, and I would argue that we do have time. Like, I don't think we need to rush anything. Think of something like an Axie Infinity. Before they blew up in 2021, they were around for 3 years. Like, and they were a playable game for around 3 years. Like, we're 2 weeks into open beta. Like, anyone who thinks we're going to blow up, tomorrow or, even 6 months from now, like, I hope we do. I hope the bull market causes it, but I wouldn't even go in expecting that. I think I've been thinking of Illuvium as a long-term play for the longest time. If it takes another year and a half to build on this to come out with another game that's really going to onboard people, I think we're still in good shape.
I agree, but our operating costs are also a lot more than Axie's was at the beginning. So
yeah, well,
let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, so that's my concern, is we only have enough runway for 12 to 15 months or whatever, right? But that's not really where my head's at. It's, you really have two options. You can enhance the features of the current games, which might take 3 to 4 months, in comparison to building a new game might take 12 to 15 months. You know what I mean? So it's a very different path, because the time taken for each one is completely different. And so what is the best path to choose? You know what I mean? And obviously you do both simultaneously to some degree, but as we already learned, building 3 games at once, although an impressive feat, I'm not sure it was necessarily a good thing for the project.
Yeah, and I was going under the assumption that the revenue that we're bringing in would cover the cost. I don't know the exact lingo for it, but like, we wouldn't be running at a deficit anymore. At least the revenue coming in would cover the cost of building new games and the team and everything like that. I'm not sure where that balance is. I'm not sure if we're on pace for that yet, or if we will be soon. But as long as we're sustainable, I think time, there's not much of an issue with time. But I will, my idea, if I was CEO, I really think that we need to add more of that social element to this game. And I think back to when Palworld, really blew up for, it wasn't even that long. What, 3 or 4 months? It was like a big thing. And the game, we know that the game wasn't nearly as good as what Illuvium is, but people got to it. And I know all of my friends too. Like, I have friends who have been trying to get into Illuvium, and like, I'm struggling to do that. But they were all into Palworld for like a good few months, because everyone could hop in, get into the group text. Hey, let's play Palworld. Let's go in and let's do whatever. So it almost didn't even matter if the game was good at that point. As long as it was good enough, but you could play with your friends, I think that's what we really need for Illuvium. Like, imagine just exactly what we have right now. But I could, call up, go on Discord, Jimbo, Scoriox. Let's hop into whatever we call it at the point, whether it's a new game or the overworld that we currently have. Then I would be like, all right, like, I'm getting in. Now it's like, if I want to play, it's like, all right, I get some free time. I'm just going to jump in now. But if somebody else is texting me, let's get in, then I'm like, all right, let's go. Oh, maybe I don't want to pay that 1,300 Krypton for today, but all my buddies are going in. So it's like, I'm going to pay and I'm going to go in and have fun with them.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a top priority.
Yeah, for sure. I think being able to play with your friends is a big, big deal. I think that might even be one of the bigger draws, is the simplicity of, you can explore the overworld with a bunch of friends. And maybe what you do there is, I'm just coming with this off the top of my head, but I think I'm a genius, right? Hear me out. I don't actually know what the actual cost is, but if a travel for a stage 1 is, say, 1,000 Krypton, maybe you pay 2,000 Krypton and you can bring 3 friends in with you, right? And so 2 of them get in for free, and you can add in all of your friends in sort of like a pseudo scholarship system, even though you're paying more for the travel yourself, and you're getting your friends into this world to explore it with you. And technically, this isn't that big of a deal because there's only so many alluvials to go around. So, like, 4 of you can't capture Mjol, you know what I mean? If there's 1 rare alluvial in there, it's still only 1 rare alluvial in there. And there's that more social element of you guys exploring the overworld. And you could almost kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just make sure that we got all the bugs covered, because multiple players in a single player game is like a recipe for bug abuse.
Yeah. I mean, we're thinking a little further down the line right now. I don't think we're gonna get.
Sure, we're thinking outside the box. I'm just
soon.
saying.
Yeah, but yeah, I think a social element, even if it's to, like, I'm not even sure if this is in Gauntlet because I haven't been like focused too much on that. But even if you could just type a message in game and have it like pop up for the other person, like just something like that, or even if everybody who's currently in the Abyssal Basin has a little chat where they can talk to each other, even if they don't see each other running around.
That already exists, dude. That's in the game.
Does it?
Yes.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, bro. You never tried to talk to him?
I haven't tried that. I can actually.
Bro, it's antisocial, bro. Yes,
yeah, just hit the Y key, and you can tab between the region and the general chat and stuff too.
To be fair, they don't say much, but
no one knows about it, so no one uses it.
Yeah, well, that's probably it. I don't know. Maybe it's because I have everything mapped to my controller, so like I'm not even near the keyboard when I play. Maybe that's why I just haven't really got.
I was just looking for Easter eggs. I was expecting to find something funny, but it was all serious.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next topic. In talking about serious, the ILV token. Let's see.
Oh my god.
We peaked at a long time ago. We peaked really high, but just I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, we peaked at like $160, and then we went as low a couple weeks ago as like, what did we touch? Like $32 again, which was almost the bear market low.
I think we went beyond the bear market low slightly. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Did we really? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know I picked up a little bit more, under 40. Not gonna lie. But how does that? I guess kind of going back to the sentiment of Illuvium right now. But does that bring people down looking at the price, or are the people playing this game not worried about the price right now?
Me personally, I didn't know there was a dip in the crypto markets until I saw people talk about it on Twitter. Yeah, I had no idea. I only checked it once the other day, and by that time it had like full bounced or whatever, or like all been bought up. I thought that was funny, but
I'm a little jealous that you can. I was gonna say I'm a little jealous that you can just not pay attention to the markets. I'm one of those people where it's just like I almost have to have a separate screen just so I can keep the Bitcoin chart up, just so I can see what's going on.
I don't want to have a bad day, so I just don't even look at it. It's fine.
Yeah. I used to be that way. I used to check it a lot, but I've been in crypto long enough that I just don't. I can't be bothered. And I don't really care that much. It's not
but do you think...
Yeah.
God.
It's not like I plan on selling stuff regardless of the price, you know what I mean? So if I don't plan on selling it, why would I check? There is a little bit of an element of if fundamentals change, that's when I'll check. I'll be like, okay, I don't believe in this anymore or as much. I might want to sell some of this. Now I'll check and see kind of what's happening,
Yeah, I really I'm always looking at the charts, but I'm really only paying attention to make moves when we're at like highs or lows. Like if we're just in the middle, I don't want to do anything. But like when I saw this big dip the other day, I was just like, all right, where's my entry coming? Because I'm looking for it. Or if we're on the other end and we're hitting all-time highs, then I'm looking more because I'm like, all right, where am I going to take a little profits? But when we're kind of just in the middle, that's when I'm kind of just not paying attention too much. But what does this do to the community? Are they? I mean, there are actual effects in game for ILV being down, and that would be like with the SILV2 price. Like now, it's anybody who might have been sitting on SILV2 or even buying it now, like. You're getting less value of it in game because it's tied to the value of ILV. So that is a factor for people who might have maybe they bought 10 SILV stacked up and their average around $100 a piece or something like that. And then ILV dips down to 40. So now they only have $40 of in-game value. So now those people are just like, oh, well, I don't want to, buy any fuel with that in-game because I'm at a loss. So that might prevent people from going in and buying the fuel that they might have bought, previously. So it does affect things a little bit, I think. But I'd like to think that a lot of people are just, enjoying the game and not even worried about the price. I like to see that the price is down. Honestly, we burn more SILV2 at this point. When we get the Rev disc coming through, the 150 ETH that Illuvium is going to be purchasing ILV with fairly soon, I think. That should have an impact on the market. Personally, I'm not too worried. I'm really not worried at all. But
Yeah.
I don't know how the other people who might be new to this market feel.
That's the issue with me. Like, token price to me, I just literally couldn't care less. I'm sorry. Like, I have a ton of ILV. I should care, but I don't. It's right now it's going to follow Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market anyways, right? So just focus on making the game as fun as possible. For me, that's all that matters.
It always confuses me when people complain about ILV being down, and there's two completely different scenarios. There's Ethereum went down 50% and ILV went down 70%. And there's Ethereum went down 50% and ILV went down 90%. You know what I mean? That was a really bad analogy. But the idea is, like, if ILV decouples, like if Ethereum goes up and then ILV goes down a lot, that's a problem. That's something that that might have a reason behind it or something like that. But if it goes down with the rest of the market, it's like, grow up. This is just how crypto works. This is how the world works. I mean, stocks crashed as well, right? Like, this isn't excluded.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's really worried about this is not here for the long term, I'm guessing. Because, yeah, I mean, I want the price to go up, but I'm here for the long term, and I have most of my ILV staked or, locked up somewhere. So it's like, I'm not selling. So the price really doesn't matter to me. I'm just here for the long term. I'm just going to keep, stacking more if it dips more, and then just, hold on to it because I believe in Illuvium. But yeah, if the token's going down and you're scared, like, maybe you're not a believer. You're not a Illuva believer. Can't come up with a good name for that.
You nailed it. What are you talking about?
I can't save you. I'm sorry.
I was like, yeah, there's got to be some kind of Illuva something. No. Beluva lead it.
I was replying to chat. I was trying to think of something. But...
Hold on. This is actually really funny you mentioned that, because someone brought this up the other day. I've been hanging out with the Overworld crew a bit, trying to learn how to race not like shit. You probably see my tweets and things like that. But it was really funny. He was like, oh yeah, I want to connect the two communities more. I'm like, yeah, me too. I really want to do that. He's like, so the Illuvi, and he's like, wait, what do you call yourselves? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, what do you call yourselves? We're Wilders. I'm like, oh, I guess you are Wilders. Illuvium doesn't really have one. And so
we're Rangers. What do you mean?
Oh, Rangers?
Yeah, bro. It's in every announcement post.
we should make that more obvious then.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Because you want to think of it has like the Illuva something in it.
Yeah.
Like Illuvinauts or something like that. Like we're Illuvinauts instead of astronauts. I don't know. Maybe that could be one. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Illuvi peeps.
Yeah. But I've seen so many plays on that before. Like I'm sure other people have said this too, but the first time I was actually the one I thought I came up with it by saying like an Illuvitard in a video a while ago. But like there's a lot of
my friends call me Illuvitarded. I'm not even joking. Like it is what it is.
I remember that whole Illuvi-sexual thing that came up one day. I'm like, what the fuck?
Illuvi-sexual? I haven't heard that.
Yeah, some of them started calling themselves that, and I think the mods just like banned them. Like, you can't do this. We're not. Yeah. We decided not to allow this.
If that's not in the rules, it needs to be. So chop on that one.
It was pretty funny.
All right, let's move on to the last topic here. So it's funny because I actually put this topic on here. I was talking with Jimbo before I even asked Scoriox to join. But Scoriox, are you recently, I guess I'll let you explain most of this, but you kind of teamed up with Sam, and you posted this idea in the Discord, and actually got a lot good community sentiment. I think it was basically a way to play Illuvium as a free to play player, but they're kind of locked out of some parts of the system. Can you just give a quick, rundown, I guess you could say, of what this proposal was and what was the idea behind it?
Firstly, I don't think it got good community sentiment. Like 70 upvotes to 30 downvotes might seem like good community sentiment, but when you compare that to 50 upvotes and no downvotes, there's clearly a lot of people that are just upvoting everything type thing. And especially with a topic like this, you've got a lot of people that have been in the Discord for like 2 days and are probably upvoting a proposal like this because they want to play the game for free. And so I actually think the sentiment around this from the community, or from the most core community members, is actually quite negative, and I am taking it with that as I go into this entire process. But as for the proposal itself, the idea is to create almost like a parallel game of the Overworld. Again, I've actually changed my sentiment a lot after hearing Jimbo talking about the whole Safari Zone thing. I've latched onto that quite a bit. I like to pride myself on my ability to change my mind. Now, I still think we need to solve for a problem here. I don't necessarily think it's the Overworld anymore, but basically the proposal suggests that players can go into the Overworld for free, and they can say capture a Ramfire, but that Ramfire will not be an NFT. It will not be on the blockchain. It'll just be like in their inventory. And essentially they'd be able to play the entire game like anyone who's paying, except they wouldn't have any access to the blockchain. They also wouldn't be able to use any of those alluvials for things like the Ascendant Arena and stuff like that. And there was a lot of negative sentiment regarding it in the discussions. Some things like, if you can play for free, why would you pay anymore? I don't subscribe to that completely, but there are some great reasons here. But the really big focus of this proposal was like, and things Sam talked about last night are quite important, where typically for gaming, 3% of players in a game are paying players. But more importantly, a player tends to need to play for about 20 days before they will even consider spending money on an in-game purchase for any game. And so Illuvium is currently missing that. We don't have that mark. You can only play the tier 0 runs for so long. It's not a complete game in any way. It's barely a game. It's a great experience, and it's a great tutorial and experience for how the NFTs work, the Illuvidex and things like that. But it's not really a game that someone can sink their teeth enough into to play for 20 days to get them to the point where they were like, all right, I want to go to a stage 1 run now. And so we need some sort of free-to-play system in Illuvium that enables that, whilst also telling them that the Overworld is fun. Combining those two together is really difficult. I think this proposal achieves it quite well, but it has a lot of its own issues. But the biggest part of this thing was getting the conversation started around this entire topic.
Yeah, I didn't completely hate the idea, to be honest with you. Like, I guess I didn't look deep into it, but the idea of just giving, a free to play version so people have a chance to, see what Illuvium is all about, and, maybe you fall in love with the characters, I guess you'd say. Like, if you're only going around and you're seeing the same 5 alluvials just in 5 different versions, like, that's going to get boring pretty quick, and you're not going to get the experience of like seeing a rare alluvial in the overworld and wanting to catch it, and then maybe you catch it and you're just like, oh well, if this was a real one on the blockchain, maybe it'd be worth $100, but because I wasn't playing the real version, it's not worth anything. It's only worth sentimental value to me. So I thought it had potential, and like you said, I like that it's kind of getting the conversation started. And I don't have a better solution. I don't have a good idea for how to do it, but
I think what could be really cool is a really interesting Illuvium battle royale where you don't need alluvials. For example, 8 players get dropped at the obelisk, and in 10 minutes time they battle each other. And say they all run in different directions, and I find a fleesh and I find like a Ramfire and I capture them both, and I come back and I send them out, and just like shit hits the fan. But you don't bring any alluvials into the game and stuff like that. There are lots of stuff like that where you can make a fun experience in this world that's free to play. Maybe you involve capturing non-NFT alluvials in some way. I don't know. But yeah, there's there's got to be something. There's something that's more engaging. The other issue is that one of my biggest concerns is even if this proposal went ahead and it got made tomorrow, the game doesn't really suit a free-to-play environment that well anyways. It doesn't really work. It's missing 2 or 3 fundamentals. Firstly, the game isn't that engaging unless you're getting NFTs, so it's just not that fun for that reason on its own. It doesn't have any RPG elements. Once you finish a run, the only outcome you have is the NFTs. This was pointed out by a lot of people in that chat too. The outcome you have is NFTs. You don't like level up a character or anything, which I think we need anyways. And the third big thing is that like it's kind of hard to do it over and over again. It's relatively repetitive. It's a little bit hard to break that, but I do actually think stage 3 runs need higher rarity alluvials in general anyways. But yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about this idea? Like a free-to-play stage 1 runs for 1 day each week or each month. So it goes along the idea of just I guess just like marketing. Like instead of just giving out, I guess you can't really send free fuel, but giving out things for people to just jump into the game to try it, themselves. Like what if it was just like on the every, first day of the month, you can go in and you get 1 free travel to, a stage 1 region or something like that, to kind of give those people a little taste of it and then want them to want more.
Ideally, yes. The problem is you can nuke the entire game. And so is that really worth it? Like, sure, if that gets 100,000 players in, it's 95,000 players with 10 accounts. So it's 1 million players. And then because you can find rare stuff in stage 1 run too. So there's so many players that they can find a bunch of Ramfires for free. And then the Ramfire market is $1 per Ramfire. And even on 1 day worth of stuff to get more players in, your economy got nuked into oblivion. And so after that, does anyone actually care about playing the game anymore? All your current players just leave. And now you have no one left. And it's just like, it's could be good, but it's extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to set it up in a way where it's like something that RuneScape did when you were voting on polls for updates in the game. You had to have a certain total level, and you had to have been playing the game for at least a week on that account. So that stops bots from like just being like, oh, I get my free tier 1 run. There's a lot of things that you could do. I actually really like that idea specifically. My issue with Wait, were we still going on that topic or
no? So just quickly, Pirate Nation actually did something along those lines, which is really, really good, where you need to hit like level 10 command rank before you're allowed to trade and buy on the market, right? Everything you're getting is NFTs, but you can't trade and buy until you hit that rank. And it takes you like a month or 2 months of like consistent gameplay to hit that. Like it's really difficult. I only just got it myself. But the problem is that Pirate Nation has their own blockchain. And so they can control a lot of that stuff. We're on IMX, and so it doesn't give us the same freedoms. You can't just block people from doing X and Y. In-game levels, I think is a really good idea. If you had that, then you can prevent a lot of stuff. But it would be, more so preventing them from getting access to the free runs rather than preventing them access from NFTs. But that sort of blocker could be really cool for sure.
How they did it on the testnet is like if you played a certain amount of time, you could get some of the Sepolia ETH. I would assume it would be something along like you play this amount of hours in the week, you get a free run. That's just what. But I want to give my opinion on this this shitty IIP. No, I'm just kidding. I really don't like it though. For me, it comes down to, is Illuvium Overworld able to stand on its own, or is it not? So if there were no other games attached to Illuvium Overworld, would we be able to go in over and over and over and over and play that? Probably not, right? Like there needs to be some kind of incentive. So I actually wrote down my response because I thought it was so important that I share it. If you think the game is able to stand on its own as a game, why would you need to entice people to play for free? Everything someone can do while playing the free version, they could do in the paid version, except transfer alluvials over to the other games. In my opinion, this would decrease possible interaction with Arena, and Overworld will. So I think if someone were to like finish a full collection on free to play, and they're not interested in the auto battler or any of the other titles that are coming in the future, there's no reason for them to ever buy ever again. They would never buy ever again, because on average every overworld run you're going to lose a little bit of money, right? So why would they play a game that they have the access to everything? They have access to everything in the overworld already for free. They finished the game. I'm not going to go and play the game for like a decrease in my net worth, bro. Like that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Let,
that's where I'm
I
at
think
with
it's
it.
I think it's
let
because
me tell you.
we're crypto bros, and I think a lot of people in here are crypto. We like the ownership. I think a lot of the people that are in Illuvium right now, like a good majority of them, like actually have a little bit of money where they can actually play. Where I completely agree with you, Jimbo. When we start bringing in all the traditional gamers and really widen our audience, there's going to be less and less people willing to pay. And if they can do it for
Let,
free, then why not?
let
Does
me
correct?
let me tell you, Jimbo, why you're both 100% correct and 100% wrong. Okay.
One of those you're 100% right on. Go ahead.
The players coming in to play to the free to play are not coming in to pay anyways. They're not coming in at all. It's to give them an avenue to come into free to play. And that's not necessarily to convert them to paying players. That's for a variety of other reasons. Like TSG said on the show last night, if you have 1 million players, it's a lot easier to get a capital raise, for example. If you have 1 million players, then someone sees, oh, that game has 1 million players, I want to try it. Then they come in to play the game. So it's creating this funnel effect where the game has just a lot more players, a lot more excitement, a lot more hype. And then sometimes when people come to play Illuvium, they're like, oh shit, I can do a paid NFT version. I want to do that version instead. The players who are coming in for the free-to-play aren't necessarily being converted to paying players. That's not necessarily the right way to think about it. It's just creating an avenue for all those people who have $0, and there are a lot of them, and just giving them a way to experience Illuvium so they can tell their friends, and one of those friends might have $5. You know what I mean? So it's about the network effects a little bit more than actually converting free-to-play to pay-to-play.
So let me tell you why you're 100% correct and 100% wrong. So the issue, like you're correct, like that is 100% how you should build a game. But Overworld is not that kind of game. The whole point is
Yeah.
that you're collecting stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever a scenario where we have 1 million players playing a free-to-play version of Overworld.
No, I agree.
The only real scenario is we have 1 million players playing the paid Overworld, with 10 million players playing Arena, 10 million players playing the Battle Royale. Like that is the only way that this system makes sense.
Well, the game has some fundamental issues before this sort of system can make sense, for sure. It needs a lot of upgrades to make it a complete game in itself. It's a complete game if it's a Web3 game, because there's a lot of elements of the Web3 that make it exciting for people like myself, but it's not a complete game as a free-to-play game. And so until that's fixed, it doesn't make much sense. I agree.
Are the Illuvium team discussing these solutions? Yes, they're Scoriox and Ajay are both council members, so they help implement proposals to the game.
But yeah, so just to mention, I'm only a council member for another like 3 weeks, and then I'm done. Maybe I'll come back eventually, but I mean, if you're watching this and you're not aware, I did get hired by the Illuvium team to work part-time, so I'm kind of ineligible moving forward. I'm ineligible for the next epoch, so unless Illuvium fires me for some reason and then I become eligible again, my council days are done. But Scoriox, since you're on here, I'm sure everybody watching already knows who Scoriox is, but make sure you follow his stuff. And you're actually going to be running for the IMC, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, why don't you just give us the elevator pitch on why anyone should vote for you?
I already did. My main focus is user acquisition for all the reasons we talked about today in this episode, and that is my number 1 and number 2 priority is just user acquisition. And what's most important with that is I want to listen to you guys. You guys, after this discussion, there were so many ideas I saw in that. One in particular that I was really fond of is even if you did have a free-to-play overworld, you could like limit bag space. Like someone could come in and maybe they pay $10 to play the free-to-play overworld forever, but they can only capture 10 non-NFT alluvials.
I like that.
And then they can pay another $10 to increase their non-NFT alluvials to 10 or 20. And you create an entire free-to-play experience that they can play, but they're still generating revenue for the DAO. Those are the sorts of ideas in those discussions, and those are the sorts of things I want to focus on. I could come up with so many ideas. If I listen to 100 different people coming up with ideas, it is a completely different story. That's when we get to the solution. And half of our games and things are like that. People were shouting out for a TFT clone for 2 years before they made Gauntlet. And so I don't know if they ever would have made it without that. I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm running on. I hope you guys vote for me. I hope to get elected and do my best for Illuvium.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to these, the next council. It seems like even sometimes you feel like, oh, well, the same people are going to get voted in. But it seems like it always changes up, and there's always new people in those spots that kind of, take things in a different direction. So I'm excited to see, anyone else running for the IMC. Like, I like to see some changes and just to see, what a new group of people can come up with. Jimbo, were you about to say something?
I know.
Sorry, I was responding to chat, but
say something.
yeah. So I'm actually going to make it official here. I am running for Illuvium Community Council.
Hey!
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that shit again.
No way.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I was like, I've talked to you enough behind the scenes, and you were like, no, not doing it again.
Hey, maybe in the future, not this time.
Yeah, maybe in the future. But yeah,
broke my heart.
I mean that pretty much concludes this show. Actually, before I even say our goodbyes, Jimbo, you said you were going to show us something, and you didn't show us yet. So
okay, so
what do you got for us?
Canceled.
I have a little a little setup where I'm using like one of these like cheap plastic tables, right? And I was using my mic, or not my mic, my mouse, and I was moving around. It just kept getting stuck. I asked my buddy, I'm staying at his house for like a few weeks. I asked him, I was like, hey, do you have a mouse pad by chance that I could use? He was like, yeah, I got an extra one. It's a Donkey Kong. And I just love Donkey Kong. He's one of my favorite characters in Smash. He does a little spin thing. And I mean, he's packing, you know what I mean? So
that's actually one of those ergonomic ones. Your wrist just sits right on
dude,
it, right?
Low key, it actually is pretty fire for my wrist. I have a bad wrist and it does help. I'm not even joking.
Beautiful.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
hope you guys like that.
I'm glad you showed us that. I thought it was going to be worse, to be honest with you.
I thought it was going to be way worse. Are you kidding me?
Before we started, Jimbo's like, I'm not even sure if I can show this thing on stream.
Well, I didn't like. I just don't want to get your channel in trouble. It's not mine, so.
No, we're good. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing this live. By the way, I think we're definitely going to stick with doing it live. Scoriox, thanks for coming on. I know you're a busy guy. You have your own show, but thanks for taking the time to come on this one. Jimbo, as always, thanks for coming. And yeah, I guess that's it. So see you later. See you in 2 weeks. We're gonna try, usually on Wednesdays, maybe sometimes on Thursdays, around this time, every 2 weeks. We're gonna try to get it going.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for everyone coming out.
See you later.
See you guys.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.